Buenos dias. How are you all feeling? Feeling inspired? See? No? See? Yes? Good, perfect. First of all, I want to excuse that I don't speak Spanish, and I actually don't speak English either. My mother tongue is Danish, and I kind of speak like I have one of those toy Lego bricks in my mouth, so I hope you can follow me. But what I just discovered before going on stage is that this brand is called Danish Interpretation Systems. For real. So go and fetch one if you can't follow what I'm talking about. Good, and isn't this a great billboard? Every morning that reminds me of my mission. Because quite honestly, I hate most advertising. And I can say that because I've worked the last 15 years in advertising. Started as a young guy, hopeful, ambitious, really wanted to change stuff. But I don't think I really knew too much about the impact of my work. At that time, young kid, 22, there was pretty much two things that mattered to me, you know. The first one was the paycheck. We heard stuff about profit. The second one was really advertising was quite a fun job. You travel around, you do a commercial shoot on some tropical island. But luckily, I wised up a little bit. And I don't know if you know Adbuster's founder, Kalle Larsen, but he said about advertising that advertising is the biggest human psychological experiment ever carried out. And I think that's quite interesting. The biggest human psychological experiment ever carried out. So what I'm going to talk about here today is really try to take an ad guys, a marketing perspective on some of the communication challenges that we are facing. What role do communication have to play? Because I think a lot of us in this room are thinking about one thing. How can we engage consumers in sustainability? How can we nudge them in a more sustainable direction, right? Isn't that something you guys would like to have answered? Good. And Nat, of course, talked a little bit about advertising, but I also want to say that most sustainability communication, I don't really like either. And I think there's some problems with it. Most of the time, it's too preachy, moralizing, one-sided, and quite often also very uninspiring. And I think it lacks one important thing, aspirations. Because if we look at what sustainability is up against, it's up against a very powerful story of advertising. $600 billion is spent on advertising globally. That's quite a powerful voice. But what I think is even more interesting about advertising is that it got a really, really simple premise. The aspiration that it promises is really, really simple and actionable. Because if we buy more stuff, we get happy. You know, it's that simple. So sustainability really have a challenge of convincing us about how to change that. And I think for the most part, if you think about your daily lives and how you behave, most of the time, and I'll say this for myself, I'm pretty much a dumb consumerist zombie. I kind of walk like this. I go into the supermarket, I go into the clothing store. I don't think too much about the things, the products that I choose. It needs to be easy and convenient. I just take the stuff. It all happens on autopilot, right? So in essence, branding is pretty much a brainless activity. So we really need to make it easy and aspirational if we want to change that thing. Secondly, beauty advertising. I don't know, it's one of those weird things. Probably some of the girls can nod to that, but you know, promising us things like skin like a baby or internal youth. And I think, why do we actually believe that stuff? Why do we believe those advertised lies? And I think the premise is pretty simple, actually, because most of us don't really have that interesting lives. You know, we don't. I end up in front of the telly every night. So what advertising does, and I think it's important when we talk about sustainability as well, it promises, it gives us hope, it gives us aspiration, it adds more interesting sides to our lives. Think about it. You might see an advert with Ronaldinho or Brad Pitt. So we might not have the lives of Brad Pitt or Ronaldinho, I don't anyway, but we can buy that dream. So we live in this little advertised bubble. And as L'Oreal says, because you deserve it. So when we're suddenly being confronted, and this is the story war, this is an interesting part. Because what I really want to do is try to tackle that dilemma between marketing and sustainability and adopt that Goodvertising. And for me, it's important because I really want to inspire the marketing directors as well to understand some of these sustainability issues. And for me, it's not about more or less. It's about telling better story. It's about telling aspirational stories, stories that the consumer in me can understand. It's really that simple. So, geez, I'll just have to look at my note quickly. Sorry about that. That can happen for everyone. Good. Cosmetic ads, yes. Good. Yeah, we talked about the consumerist dream, right? We're in this consumerist bubble. And suddenly, we're being targeted by sustainability communication. And it's almost like it's puncturing that consumerist little bubble, this little happy bubble I'm in. Because suddenly it's telling me that most of the stuff that I'm doing today is not good enough. And it's telling me stories that I'm not used to hearing about brands. Brands admitting faults, brands saying we're doing this and that. That's not the usual brand story. It kind of punctures the way that I look at it. So let me give you an example. So the fashion industry came out recently and they talked about the toxic pledge. So they admitted that most of the clothing we are wearing today have toxic chemicals in it. And that's a pretty crazy story to swallow as a consumer. If I went out and I put poison in my girlfriend's food, I probably wouldn't be doing a sustainability report or call a press release. So this is a really challenging environment. And I think it's challenging because we don't expect this from brands. So that little consumerist bubble is punctuated. And it's kind of saying to a little 5-year-old kid that Santa doesn't exist, because it's much easier for me to be a consumer and go on as usual. So maybe it's not that weird that brands are being challenged. The trust in brands is really being challenged. This is according to a Harvard's Meaningful Brand Survey that really says that 2/3 of consumers don't care whether the majority of brands in this room around tomorrow or not. I think that's a pretty big wake-up call. It's not an every relationship you get a second chance, but for some mysterious reason, 70% of people actually give you a second chance. Because they, at the same time, believe in the power of brands for good. I do as well. They believe that you guys should stand in there and help them solve some of society's biggest challenges. Unemployment, those toxic chemicals in my clothing. So you have a chance to prove that you still love us. And I think yesterday we heard Simon, we heard the guy from Picnic talk about doing as the future of marketing. And quite honestly, where is the doing? Where is the actions from most companies? Because what I'm looking for is a hero, somebody who can step in there and fix some of this stuff. And most of the stuff I hear is from companies is things like, we're going to improve this in 2020, 2030, 2040. So they're procrastinating change. That's not what heroes do. Heroes act. You know, just think, this is just an imaginary example, right? I'm being caught by my girlfriend being together with another woman, okay? Get the scenario? Good. Unfaithful, yeah, okay. Would I be telling her, you know what, honey, I'm really sorry about that. You know, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to phase out my adultery over the next 5 years. So in 2020, you're going to have 100% adultery-free Thomas Kolster. Would that work in your relationship, in your marriage? It wouldn't in mine, that's for sure. So why do we keep treating our customers like that? We give them promises. They need action. And I think this is important because if we think about brands and the role they play in our lives, they are our heroes. Or they make us heroes of our own stories. So don't ever forget that when you do sustainability communication. It needs to be aspirational. You need to be the hero. Don't bash people in their heads. Because all I want to hear, living in my little advertised bubble, is what brands have always told me. I'm cooler, I'm prettier, I'm nicer, I'm better. We're used to hearing those stories. So this basically comes down to how do we get people nudged in that sustainable direction, right? Because I'm still that dumb consumerist zombie just walking along. And there's a choice between product A and product B, product sustainable. You all know Body Shop. And I think what Body Shop did was quite inspirational. So in an advertising marketing space, where any other beauty company was doing those adverts I just talked about, you know, skin like a baby, internal youth, they went out and they said, hey, wait, did you know that cosmetics are being tested on animals? Did you know that cosmetics are tested on a cute little monkey? So they spoke up against animal cruelty. And I think that's quite interesting because they distanced themselves completely from the rest of the beauty marketing market and told a different story. So in that choice between two products, you got to be quite a dumbass to choose that little eyeliner that kills that little cute monkey, right? So I think they told us a story about a better cosmetic industry, about a better eyeliner, and I could understand that as a consumer. Let me give you another example. So this is just ads taken 2 years back from the big marketing machine, P&G, for the brand Always. So this is the typical advertising we see always, you know, sucking power like a tornado, or this mad scientist stuff, this green, blue ink, never really gets it, but I love the lies. So this is where they came from. But suddenly they did something quite different, and I really must admire them for doing that. Because they went out there and they said, we have enough of stereotyping young girls. And they really didn't like those stereotypes, and they wanted to change that. So they launched the Like a Girl campaign. Let me just see how the hands of who have actually seen this campaign. Have everybody seen it? Quite a few of you have seen it. Great. It's an amazing campaign. You should go and see it. So they actually rewrote the rules of how young girls look at themselves. They gave them confidence. They made them believe in themselves. This was quite a successful marketing stunt. 80 million people watched this. So I see a change in the marketing sphere as well, which I think is great because it's great for sustainability. Last year in Cannes, Lions, it's the global advertising festival, the World Cup of advertising. They have their highest prize is called a Grand Prix, the Grand Prix prize. And last year, out of 15 Grand Prix, 10 was given to campaigns I would dub Goodvertising. Campaigns that add something positively to environment, society, and planet. And I think that's a great change, that suddenly marketing people is getting this. Let me show you another example. And sorry I can't remember your name, but there was this guy talking about neuroscience yesterday. And I thought it was really interesting that don't bash people in the head if they want to change behaviors. You know, be positive. Give them aspirations. So I want to show this film that actually talks about eating habits. And it's really difficult to change eating habits.
If you're happy and you know it, eat a snack. If you're happy and you know it, eat a snack. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, eat a snack. If you're sad and you know it, eat a snack. If you're sad and you know it, eat a snack. If you're sad because you're angry, feeling down, or generally bad, if you're sad, eat a snack. If you're bored and you know it, eat a snack. If you're lonely and you know it, eat a snack. If you're sleepy and you know it, if you're guilty and you know it, if you're stressed, eat a snack. If you're human and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're human, eat your feelings, eat a snack.
Great, isn't it? And what a nice little teaser before the lunch break, right? I can promise you guys 5-6 minutes more, you'll have lunch, don't worry. Okay, so the big thing is really, what types of discussions do we want with consumers today? And I think we've heard even Simon talk a little bit about it. We always talked about our functional benefits. But I think if we really want to live up to some of those promises and be heroes in people's lives, I think there's so many topics out there that you can create conversations around. Because it's pretty simple. It is pretty simple. If you show care towards people, they will show care towards you. It's that linear. So let's just explore that for a moment. So what I want you to do is, when I mention something that you agree with or something you're trying and want to do, then raise your hand, okay? It's pretty simple. So who in this room would actually like to exercise more? Let me see your hands up and be honest. Good, there's some pretty good athletes in the room as well. Okay, good. Who is worried about the Argentinian economy? Hands up. Is the president in the house? No. Okay, good. Who want to spend more time with their kids? Good. Who would like to eat food with less sugar, salt, and fat in it? That should be interesting for Disney to know. It's a great little communication channel you have there. Good, and least but not last, who worries about climate change? Great, and keep it up there, because if every marketing director could see this hand of forest, because every one of those hands, thank you, you can take it down, is a possibility to create engaging conversations with people about stuff that really matters to them. Not those advertised lies, but stuff that really creates aspirations. And I think we talked a lot about purpose today, and we talked about karma. And the thing is, not every company is born with a purpose, but every company got a possibility to change and stand up for change. I worked for 15 years in advertising. I changed my career. So everybody can do that. And I think it's important to stand up for change. And I think this approach, dealing with some of these issues, they really bring marketing, they really bring storytelling into the heart of the company, into the boardroom, because you're dealing with some of those big issues that are facing your company in the future. We heard about some of that stuff, about business model, all these issues that you're facing. Suddenly you can take that into the heart of your brand. You can say, we want to change this. And I think it's really important, because you are going up on the brand ladder of relevance. Not talking about functional benefits, not talking about aspirational things, but you actually talk about purposeful things, meaningful things, things that matters in my life. So you're changing the conversation and you're making a real difference. Think about P&G, right? Probably a couple of 100,000 girls today feel more confident about what they did. So I think that's a great thing. So don't get worn down by the usual stuff in the sustainability space. I think it's so important that we start thinking about aspirations and telling stories and having this marketing mindset, because it's hard to change the little zombie that's just dead walking in us. So we have to show them a better version. I believe telling those aspirational stories, these stories about better, can change things. If you can tell people about clothing without toxic chemicals, if you can talk about Buenos Aires without traffic jams, somewhere you can play freely with your kid, those stories are better and they are going to inspire me. This year's theme, that was the Danish thing coming out in me, is how now. And I think we've spoken quite a bit about the how, and I hope you and I'm going to give you some pointers about the how as well. So this is actually pretty simple. So it's 5 guidelines towards Goodvertising, towards a meaningful brand. The first one, pretty basic: be honest. Don't pretend to be something you're not. And never confuse honesty with transparency. Transparency is something you have in your sustainability report. Honesty is when you genuinely want to change something, okay? Be meaningful. Don't create needs, but go in and solve wants. One great example is BMW. They're not selling you a car anymore. They're selling you transportation. They're moving you from A to B. They're solving a need that I have. Be inspiring. Inspire to more meaningful lives. It's really simple, like the Weight Watchers are doing. They understand me, they inspire me to see a better me in me. Be innovative, don't fake it, make things smarter. I see a lot of bottles out there still, where people talk about 20% less recycled material, plant materials. Don't do incremental changes. Change stuff in people's lives. If you don't do it, other brands will. The last one, be positive. Don't create divides, add to people's lives. And this has probably been my biggest grudge about advertising and working in advertising, because a lot of time advertising preyed on people's insecurities. And I think what P&G is doing is showing us a way forward. So back to the theme of sustainable brands, the how now. Hopefully now we heard many of the interesting speakers over the last 2 days about the how. Now we need to do the now part. So I want to see some action and some things done, not tomorrow, but today. And this is all in your hands. So I wish you the best of luck and go enjoy some lunch. Thank you.